Did the 2024 presidential election not go your way? Was it not your ideal outcome? Are you now considering a move to another country that doesn't have so much Donald Trump in it? Well, I have some good news for you. Donald Trump has actually promised to make your life as an American overseas better in this specific way. He has promised to end double taxation for all Americans abroad, even those who are considering leaving the country because they can't stand him. Yes, Donald Trump has promised to help you. Hi, my name is Anthony Parent. As a 20-year international tax attorney, I know that many Americans overseas are surprised to learn that unlike any other civilized country, the United States of America taxes expats on their worldwide income. And boy, can international tax problems get tricky. This is American exceptionalism at its finest. The way the IRS works is through something called citizenship-based taxation. And what it means is the IRS can tax you anywhere in the universe for any income you make. Now, again, every other civilized country on the planet has a territorial system. You are a tax resident because you live there, but not the exceptional United States. You can be a tax resident of the United States even if you live on Mars. Now, since 2009, I've been helping U.S. expats get into compliance with these very tricky, consequential rules, and often because foreign income and assets are involved, the tax treatment as designed and enforced by the U.S. government is often worse and often unclear. In addition, there are various foreign reporting forms that carry huge penalties if not filed correctly. And not only that, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act forces foreign banks to scour their records for Americans or people suspected of being American, which has forced many Americans to actually renounce their citizenship because they can't get a bank account in the country they live in. Now, some are denied opportunities because of their American citizenship also brings so much tax baggage. Some of these people are my clients and I know them by first name. The suffering the U.S. tax system causes is real. And speaking of bank accounts, there is a report of foreign bank accounts, which is called the FBAR, that the U.S. Treasury claims needs to be filed every year. I've helped many expats avoid or reduce millions in FBAR penalties. But the stress in financial terrorism is nauseating. Now look, I don't mean to scare everyone. If your financial center of gravity is in the U.S., your tax return doesn't change all that much. In fact, you may be wondering why people are complaining so much. But once you have foreign sourced income, once your financial center of gravity is outside the US, your tax return gets massively complicated and expensive. So if you are a retiree considering moving outside the US, your taxes won't change that much. Again, it's not a massive problem for every US expat, but for those it is a problem for, it's one of their biggest problems. And yes, I am aware that there are tax treaties that claim to prevent double taxation, but not every country has a U.S. tax treaty, and tax treaties tend to benefit the IRS and not you. Tax treaties don't do what people think they actually do. Now, I didn't think of this at first. This fact actually surprised me in my more recent years, but most Americans overseas are Democrats. So you would think the Democratic Party would be interested in offering some relief to their base, but guess what? The Democrats are fully opposed to offering any meaningful relief to their constituency overseas. We saw this in 2024 as Donald Trump promised to end double taxation, and Kamala Harris, well, she offered direct file, which was an insulting red herring that would do nothing to alleviate the problems of FATCA and double taxation for Americans overseas. But Donald Trump has offered relief. He has made it a campaign promise to end double taxation for Americans abroad. But we should ask, should we trust him on this promise? Well, I'm actually one of the very few people who has been part of this effort to end this specific abuse. Now, while I have not spoken to Donald Trump directly on this issue, my good friend Solomon Yu of Republicans Overseas, he has. And you can see him on Trump's 2024 victory stage, if you can stomach it. He has Donald Trump's ear, and Donald Trump specifically put out a video in which he said he would end double taxation, which is far more explicit than we imagine. So this is not a soft promise at all. But Donald Trump is a politician, so we kind of need to hold him accountable and analyze his promise with what he has done in the past. Because I can also tell you this. We were promised a simpler code with Donald Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, but that is not what we got. In fact, Donald Trump signed into law the transition tax, which royally screwed over small businesses overseas who own shares of foreign stock with built-up earnings that were never distributed. That is, get this, Donald Trump imposed a tax on unrealized gains. And not only that, the transition tax was retroactive tax due in 2017, but taxed these shareholders back to 1986, again on income that was never realized. So let me say that again. Realization of income is not required by the Supreme Court in order to be imposed a tax. And Donald Trump and his appointees, along with their liberal colleagues, are responsible for this horrific outcome. So my point is we should not blindly trust Donald Trump at all. He must be held accountable, rather, to end double taxation for Americans overseas. And for those who say that Trump can't end double taxation on his own, and thus he can point to Congress as an excuse, well, no. Here's the thing. The U.S. individual income tax law is written so vaguely that it doesn't explicitly define what an individual is. The regulations are what define an individual. And because of that, the regulations can be changed to define an individual as someone who resides in the U.S., ending citizenship taxation by regulation. All perfectly legal. So there it is. Donald Trump promised to end double taxation for Americans overseas, and he has the ability to change this rule without congressional input. So if Donald Trump fails in 2025 to make good on his promise, it is because he wants to fail. Now, if you're interested in ending the abuse of the income tax, the best thing you can do, share, like, and comment to raise the frequency level of Americans. And be sure you subscribe so you know when you can stay on top of our effort to make your life overseas a lot better. This is Anthony Parent of IRSMedic. Thanks for watching.